Welcome, welcome, welcome. Patch notes 7.3 are live. They are up. There's a link above in the description if you want to read them yourself. But I'm just going to jump in. We're going to review these. I learned from last time, so we can just zoom in here and fill up the whole page with gorgeous text. Okay, so I have lots of thoughts. I don't know what spam abilities mean. The following leader abilities have been tagged as spam abilities: Caraspis, Blood Scent, Overwhelming Hunger, Shield Wall, Guerrilla Tactics, and Nature's Gift. Veteran keyword contracts now progress correctly. Alright, fine. I don't think there's any real changes there. We're going to get down into all of these later on. I think the biggest thing you're going to see that they talked about in the developer stream, and you can watch this at the same link using this YouTube. Again, it's going to be above in the description. Notably, Mo Legion has joined the CDBR team. He joined a while ago, but he is now working with Burza, rolling out these changes and explaining them to the community. He talked about the difficulty of making things competitive and also appeasing people's interests. I just don't feel that sad for someone when there still is so much tilting, but we'll get to that in a minute. So first and foremost, huge miss for me in terms of changes to neutral cards. I was hoping for some big changes for neutrals. Instead, you're going to see there was a few changes to some bombs, and then basically all artifact removal except for Karathi Heatwave is gone. So Karathi Heatwave is the only way to remove artifact removal, and I think is going to become basically an auto-include in any non-devotion deck. And if you've watched my channel, you know I don't like Karathi Heatwave. I think that it's just a stupid person play. It doesn't require much setting up or forethought, and it really doesn't even jive with lore too much, as you would never take your Masquerade Ball into the desert, but we digress. So Bomb Heaver has changed. Deploy, damage enemy unit by 1. If you have a bomb in your hand, damage it by 3 instead. This is a terrible, terrible change to this card. It is now utterly worthless. Bandits are totally unusable. Bomb Heaver was one of the few cards that actually gave them some upside. Now it's trash. Vivienne Oriel changed, so she used to destroy an artifact and then boost herself by the provision cost of the artifact. It's now boost self by the provisions of the unit to the right. Fine. Whatever. Still really expensive way to do that card, and you have to keep your unit out there, something that's proving difficult lately. Frenzied Diao, I really like this change though. So power change from 6 to 7. It plays for 7 because of this new provision cost, and then the ability is changed to deploy, move a unit to the other row. So again, this is like Strays of Spala. You can move your own units, but this time you get parity with provisions and power. So you are playing for 7 points. That is quite useful. There's no resilience there, so it's not like quite as great as Siri Nova, but there's also not the restriction that you can't have really good cards in your deck. So I think this is a really nice card. I think it's going to see some play, but probably not in Scoia'tael because they just blew up row movement. We'll get to that in a minute. Demeridium Bomb ability changed to damage a unit by 3 and give it Veil. This is stupid. It needed to give it Purify at a minimum. I just like... The one thing Mo Legion was like, this can be a cheeky play against Hamadryads. Like, yeah, but killing Hamadryads is a much better way of being cheeky against Hamadryads. Giving them Veil to prevent Vitality really isn't that meaningful, especially since once you give the Veil, it's still going to retain whatever Vitality was already on it. And obviously Hamadryads are frequently played with Dryad's Caress, which can go ahead and purify the Veil and give them back those Vitality. So I really don't see the great value in that. I think Doomed would make more sense than Veil, but we are where we are. Dancing Star ability. So, and for those of you who don't remember, Demeridium Bomb used to be artifact removal. That's the one I kind of wish they would have left the same. That way there'd be 2 artifact removals. I think it would have been in sync with what they had been discussing, where they wanted to make sure cards found value. Karathi Heatwave obviously can destroy units, and so I think that's how they're covering that delta, but we are where we are. Dancing Star ability changed to damage the enemy unit by 3. Death Blow damaged the unit to the right by 1 less. This is complicated text, basically meaning that you can destroy if you kill a 3-point or fewer unit. So I think of this really as like think of like Carrack frigates or maybe like drones, where you kill one and then it bounces the next one, it bounces the next one. Think of this as like Falibor 0.5. Right, where it's not playing out for any points, but you basically, if you get a 3 death blow, then you can get a 2 death blow, then you can get a 1 death blow, but they all have to be in a row. Is what it is. I don't think that's an awesome card. I think it's mediocre. Yet at best, it's playing for 6 points, and you have to get it lined up just right. And I think like Carrack frigates and Fire Swarm are probably the best options there. Blizzard provision changed from 6 to 8, so it's now more expensive. This used to be the White Frost card, for all of those who are wondering, used to destroy all artifacts on the board. Now its ability has changed to destroy the lowest power unit. Initiative, destroy all units with the lowest power instead. This could theoretically be cool. I think kind of like a Vincent 0.5, where you can just destroy a whole bunch of low point units, but you're going to have to set it up first. Could be good again against Carrack frigates and against Fire Swarm. All the more reason to be including Lonely Champions. Shoop Hunter, resilience ability to change to destroy an artifact. Fine. Shoop Knight was where the destroy artifact was, and it is changed to resilience. I think this is a good change for Shoop, where he's going to stick out on the board for more points, and I find that Knight has better options in terms of just general point play than Hunter does anyway. You can get the boost a random unit to your hand, boost a unit on the board, and damage a unit plus lock a unit with Knight. So I think Shoop Knight is now quite good. We'll have to look into reworking our Knights of Legend deck. Comments in 7.3, we decided to rework most artifact removal cards. Yeah, we know. The ones we've chosen felt overly impactful when they found the target and very underwhelming when they didn't. That's fine. And they've nerfed the 2 most powerful scenarios, Masquerade Ball and Passiflora. Masquerade Ball is now mediocre. I think it is no longer the greatest of all. Your ability to table a Joachim or a Roderick into double poison is still very, very strong. I kind of wish they would have just addressed that problem and not destroyed Masquerade Ball like they have, and we'll get to that in a minute. Karate Heatwave still exists, and then Shoop is still a great way to remove artifacts. Phoenix provision changed from 13 to 11. I think this makes great sense, especially since it is an artifact. Karen Thier copying Phoenix was the problem, I guess they're saying. I didn't really see that very often, but it was something that could happen. And finally, Olgierd now has a bandit category. This is like way overdue, but bandits are still trash. We are where we are. So Ruhin now has Insectoid, which I find to be really interesting. So we might be able to loop this into like a Keekmore deck. I think that makes sense since it was Insectoid, and demons have no synergy. Maybe if they bring it back, it could be Insectoid Demon. I don't have a problem with that. Ardgaith changed from 10 to 9. I think that's good, especially given how cheap Red Riders are, and that's really not that much different from Red Riders. Ghoul power changed from 1 to 2. Fine. Solana Harpy now has this cool bonded ability where it spawns a Harpy egg, but you're going to have to put a ton of proc Death Wishes or Consumes into your deck in order to get full value from that, right? Like, I think the optimal play here would be put 2 Harpy eggs out on the board, then maybe use like Abaya and Miralorn to spawn the Harpies out of those eggs without them getting locked or destroyed. So you're already 4 cards in, and then you would need to play 2 more cards in order to get the 3rd Harpy's egg, the Solana Harpies. And then once you have those, you're at 6 cards. Then you need to play a 7th card to consume the extra Harpy egg that they've spawned. So I just don't think that this is a great way of resolving the Barghest difference here. So the main thing that's pointed out is that Barghest had the optional consume if you had dominance. It's an expansion card. Expansion cards are just better. It's power creep. That's what happens. But whatever. We are when we are. But when Papa Harpy and Mama Harpy really love each other, they make a baby Harpy egg. Problem is that you have to get them both on the board. They both have to stick. They can't get killed. And you then result in a harpy egg that you need to make value out of all on your own all over again. But we are where we are. Nagelfar's crew now has 1 armor. I think this is a big, important change. I think I would like to see that at 2 armor, personally. They just really are a slow card that takes a long time to really get good value out of, and running a lot of Frost is kind of mediocre at this point. Siren ability now boosts an allied. No longer requires it to be Death Wish to boost it by 3. It's just beasts. Haunt is now doomed. It's fine. I think all of the scenarios got the doomed. It doesn't really matter for anyone other than Masquerade Ball, but we are where we are. Although I will say Gedeneth does matter for him. Morntar armor changed from 0 to 1. Fine, but she's still terrible. You kind of still have to use Petrie's Filter. She's not on parity for Gord, and it's basically the same 7 provision cost card, right? That gives you boost per whatever you've played. For her, it's bronze cards in your discard pile or your graveyard. Skellige. Darren power changed from 4 to 7. This makes sense because he was trash. But damage self by 3, then move a card from your deck to your graveyard. So now you could use like Sigdrifa's Right to get him out of there. But Darren played on range throw, still plays for the same amount of points, but now also synergizes with all the heals Skellige has to offer. Moreover, if you feel you don't need his deployability, you can play him in melee row and get a 7-point unit. So I think he has some more flexibility. This targeted graveyard move, though, is just not incredibly valuable. It does give some good tempo with Markvarg, though, so we'll test it out. Olaf provision changed from 11 to 10. Olaf has always been sticky because it is an order card that requires itself to be damaged in order to find value, so you can't use Petrie's Filter. So it's kind of a weird, lopsided card. So we'll just have to see how that works. Rage of the Sea took a massive nerf. Not only did they drop provisions from 14 to 13, they changed the ability to only have 2 charges instead of 3. So you're now only getting 4 points of sirens and 4 points of damage. Obviously, Rage of the Sea has proven to be very strong in 7.2 patch. The problem, though, wasn't the leader ability, in my opinion. The problem was purely the cards that synergize with it, that they just have. And again, I've said this many times. The problem, in my view, has not been that Skellige needs to be continually nerfed. They're finally a fun faction to play. They sucked for forever. But now that nobody else has parity because nobody else has like really strong plays. Northern Realms has gotten very close with Shield Wall, but didn't quite eclipse Skellige, and so I think we just need to see some of the other factions get some love and see some more synergy. So Great Swords now damage themselves down to 4 instead of to 5. Honestly, I don't really think this changes a whole lot. I think I would have rather seen them go down to a cap of 8 points and still play out for 5. I think that would have been better in terms of Blaze of Glory, Hjalmar, etc. I think that would have been a much better change because then a 6-point card still plays for 8, and you still get a lot of that other flexibility with Sigdrifa's Right, etc., etc. Stunning Blow changed from 4 to 5 provisions and now damages the unit by 5 if it has armor increased to 6. This is great. This is very good parity with Assassination. Assassination can go down to only 4. So maybe I would say Assassination might need some love, but they needed to give some love to all of the other cards, notably Boiling Oil being pure trash garbage right now, with only 5 points of damage, and then Purifying cards next to it, rarely finding value unless it's a Vitality, but you don't see that for anything except for Hamadryads, really. So anyway. Stunning Blow was always included. I think now we're going to see more Gutting Slashes. So Gutting Slash also works really great. Just got to get that. Just got to get those bleeds out. I'm sorry, the damaged units out there. Get the Bloodthirst. Gedeneth is now doomed, so this sucks. You can't do triple Getty. Is what it is. I think this makes sense. I think Scenario should only be able to be played once. I think that Karathi Heatwave still continues to be a problem, but we are where we are. Firaxis Prince, Firaxis Outcast, Firaxis King provision changed from 11 to 12. Honestly, this makes sense. Amphibious Assault provisions changed from 12 to 13. fine. And the shield well nerfed from 14 to 13, fine. Again, it was a good faction. They were doing well, a little better than average, but nothing really broken in my opinion. Damn Sorceress ability changed to Zeal, order remove a unit's shield and boost self by 2. She now has charges, so you could use the stockpile with them, perhaps, with a shield ability. I don't know. It's going to be a little bit tricky, so we'll have to check that out. But Siege is now doomed. Really no difference for Northern Realms. Scoia'tael, Feigned Death provision changed from 13 to 14. It now has doomed. Whenever you play an elf, spawn a Vernal Seals Commando in this row, then 2 Elven Deadeyes, then spawn and play Waylay. I don't think Vernal Seals Commando is worth the extra provision. I think that this is going to hands down be one of the worst scenarios, the Waylay being just entirely problematic most of the time. We did get a really cool play on Twitch, so if you don't follow me on Twitch, do. It's fun. We have good times. I am recording this on Twitch actually right now to get people's feedback, but we did a cool play with Visigodo where we used a Vryhead Dragoon to move off Donamir and then synergized with the second chapter to get ourselves that dagger in the heart of Visigodo. That was pretty cool. Other than that, it's kind of like whatever. And they should have just, against Scoia'tael, make sure to put a shield on Visigodo when you're using shield wall. Nothing else to say there. Feigned Death, as with all scenarios, now spawns an engine. Its provision cost is increased by 1. The engine is mediocre. The engine is capped very easily. The engine ends as soon as you play or your opponent plays something on your side of the board that's not Scoia'tael. So Scoia'tael, and if you've ever played with Vernal Seals Commando, know that they are hot garbage against Nilfgaard. They play for too few points. They don't get enough synergy. Whatever. Iflin getting a boost from only being from 11 provisions to 10, so a little bit cheaper to include into a deck. I think we'll start seeing her some more with Glais and or Sheldon Skaggs. Pretty cool. These changes do kind of give me the yawns, I'm not going to lie. Pretty boring in the Scoia'tael category, but Zoltan changed from 12 to 11 for Zoltan Warrior. Vryhead Dragoon provision changed from 5 to 4, so the power changed from 5 to 4, so now you get this cheap movement, kind of more on par with Hawk. Vryhead Officer ability changed to deploy, melee, damage an enemy unit by 2, fine, and then boost an allied unit by 2. Bonded gets to use both abilities, so that's cool. But I really only use this card when I'm desperate in a Radea deck and I just need more elves included in my deck. So maybe other people will find better use out of it, but the delta here is really not that much different, and needing to get both of those cards at the same time is a little bit slow and clunky. And Scoia'tael already had a good bonded card in the Mahaka Marauders. So, but I'm sure people will find out a cool use for this. It's just not amazing. Polly Dahlberg is now changed to move a unit to the other row with deploy, and then order give an allied unit to armor, so no longer row restricted and can do both things, so that's fun. We are where we are. Okay, we talked about this a lot last season, so we're going to walk through this. This is going to be probably the section we spend the most time. This falls really flat for me. I'm just going to preface it with that. Nilfgaard. Masquerade Ball is now doomed. I think this was a good change. It makes sense. Double Ball was gross. It was boring and obnoxious, but it wasn't performing amazing, so I don't know why. This is what the cover art for the video was when they were streaming it. So they've changed it to Vivienne Oriole, but it was Masquerade Ball. Like, the thing they were messaging was, we fixed Ball, and it just seems like a little slow and a little tone deaf when you're looking at meta reports. But we are where we are. I think it is a good change. This provision boost from 14 to 15 makes it the most expensive card in the game. Not to worry. This change also comes with a bunch of buffs to the faction. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna walk through them. Palmerin Delan fall ability change to deploy, damage an enemy unit by 2, death blow. Apply spying to adjacent enemy units. If Milton is in your hand, always trigger this death blow ability. I don't think this is good enough to be included into your deck, but it is an interesting change. The shields might have been cool, but there weren't many practical uses. I kind of disagree. You could theoretically use him to give a shield back to Hefty Helga, but he's just an expensive card with mediocre play, and Nilfgaard already has Certain Ox with Letho as the kind of like that you have to have in hand in order for them to do cool stuff. So adding more cards that aren't really quite as flexible or as useful as Certain Ox with Letho seems a little clunky to me. But we are where we are. So since Milton's ability is best used with disloyal units, Palmerin will also go on a mission to find and expose every spy in Toussaint. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but way to go. Milton to Payrock Payren changed from 8 to 7, so I think that makes sense. They're a little bit cheaper, but still not amazing. Slave Infantry provision changed from 5 to 4. Vicavaro Novice provision changed from 5 to 4. And power changed from 5 to 4. So just cheaper to include. I think you could use Vicavaro Novice with the Menno leader ability now. That might be a good way to do it. Tactical decision. So you can find out what the top card is, put it into your hand, and move a card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. Slave Hunter, power changed from 3 to 4, so a little bit of a boost here. Ability changed to Assimilate. Order, damage an enemy unit by 2. That's fine. Now it's a better blue coin play. Not enough to give like a real boost to the faction though. Slave Driver now has soldier category. Fine. Not amazing. Slave Driver really only gets use after you get locked units. Are where we are. Vrygriff is cheaper to include, but still a little bit of a weird play. You have to really use them with Durlans to find really great value, and the Durlan spam is slow. It is not great tempo. It requires card precision, which is not the best. Hyperthin does kind of lead up to it, but then you also are very vulnerable to row punish since Durlans don't have any kind of shield or armor. So, that is what it is. Letho of Gullet power change from 6 to 8. This I think is actually big. Letho now can lock and damage a unit by 3, and he only costs 8 provisions to include. So Letho is quite good, I think, now. I think we might see more of him. But there were no neutral changes to Witchers. And that's what the community has been asking for forever. I don't understand how Mole Legion can begin his conversation here with it's hard to please everyone with competitiveness and with and paying homage to the actual lore, and then not give any love to Witchers. Witchers and Bandits are pure steaming garbage. Just terrible right now. Wish they would have got more loved. And then Schiller to Fitz Osterlin, power change from 4 to 5. Fine, whatever. Really not great synergy there. He just turns the opponent's highest value card to a 1. It's cool, but it's not amazing. Syndicate, Siggy Reuven power change from 3 to 4. Fine. He's still weird. He's still hard to use. Then Passiflora ability is changed to... So now instead of going Peaches, then Sly Seductress, then Coins, it goes Peaches, Coins, and Sly Seductress. This was supposed to be a nerf, but in my opinion, this is so much better because now you can play it on 0 coins. You get out your Peaches. You don't have to trigger them yet, and then the next turn you play your Street Urchins and get exactly 9 coins. I was just always running into problems with needing spenders, and it was always setting things off in a weird way. So I think that this is a much better way to go about using this. The 2 engine cards, blah blah blah, whatever. This is one of the better scenarios for sure. I'd say Masquerade Ball, then Passiflora, but the thing you have to keep in mind is that for both of these factions, you kind of have to have the scenario to be competitive. The rest of the factions are struggling pretty hard right now. Cesar Blitzen is a weird card. I don't think that this makes him really all that playable, but we'll test it out. Payday ability change to damage the enemy unit by 5. Gain a coin for each point of excess damage dealt. Cool. Not that big a deal, but we'll see. Payday joins the Cool Kids group with Nature's Rebuke, Boiling Oil, and Stunning Blow of 5-point damage. This new version has a lower point ceiling, but it is also way less risky. Yeah, I think just not needing to spend all of your coins makes sense. Firesworn Scribe tribute changed from 4 to 2. That's fine. It's a little bit cheaper to pay for. Then Eavesdrop Provision changed from 6 to 5. I think this is a welcome change. Getting you 5 coins and draw consistency and a crime card is quite nice. Eavesdrop is a quite valuable card. I think on the whole, walking you through all these changes, honestly, I think if you feel like I do, where this is just really underwhelming, you're not alone. I think a lot of people feel that same way. I just feel like the neutrals especially was a huge miss. Nilfgaard allegedly got a bunch of buffs, but none of these cards are really awesome. Slave Infantry, for those of you who have forgotten, Slave Infantry transform another card into Slave Infantry, so they work kind of like Cursed Knights, where you can use them as a Purify. But they also shut down your engines, they take away your order abilities, etc. So for me, Nilfgaard is a huge miss. Syndicate needed a little bit more love. They're still very mid-range right now. Middle of the pack, and they needed just a little bit of oomph. I think the one thing that kind of works for them is that they're so complicated that other people don't know how to play them, and so they don't know how they are being played against them. I think that will continue to be the case. I think the Payday ability might be a big change though, so we'll have to go see how that works. Getting those coins for excess damage could actually be a nice way of generating coins instead of having to spend all of them. But that is, as they say, what it is. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more of my videos, subscribe. You guys know how it works. But until next time, thank you for joining. Good luck out there, and keep on gwenting.